Hi, my name is Christine. I am with Dogs for Life, and I just wanted to take a few moments to talk about anxiety in dogs. Um, as a dog trainer, it's not uncommon for us to get phone calls from people who are seeking some assistance. Some recognize that their dog is having anxiety, but there are far more people who are actually seeking what they feel would be behavior disorders. And unfortunately, a lot of times we don't recognize behaviors to be related to fear or stress or anxiety issues. It's very heartbreaking as dog owners to see our dogs suffering and having anxiety. So common anxiety issues might be, separation anxiety. People are pretty aware of that one. But we also get phone calls, for example, I have a great dog, but my dog doesn't like men with hats, or my dog doesn't like, handbags, or whatever it might be. It obviously sets off a behavior that the owner is identifying and saying, hey, my dog has some issues going on here. So, to somewhat understand, fear and anxiety and stress are all kind of intertwined, although they're a little bit different. But they do have some similarities. And primarily, what is happening when a dog is having stress or having an anxiety issue, what happens is it's not just behavioral, although that is what we recognize. Internally, there are a lot of hormones, such as cortisol, that are being released into the body. And so these hormones, or the cortisol levels, which increase based on responses that the dog might perceive as fearful, or that causes the anxiety. And then what ends up happening is we begin to see these behaviors. And signs of anxiety would be a dog panting, and or excessive barking, trembling. Sometimes they have destructive behaviors and even aggression. And so during these times, we have to kind of correlate and say, hey, understanding that fear is not necessarily an obedience issue. It's an emotional issue. And so you have to get to an emotional level in order to work with your dog. And so what happens is when your dog has the anxiety and it releases the hormones into the body goes into what we call fight or flight. And this is a response that is based on, natural survival, getting away from the thing that is causing the stress or the anxiety, and or turning and fighting. And so it's the same for humans. It's the same for dogs. They have the same response. And so what we want to do is to be able to look for some alternative therapies. And so I remember a while back, one of my own dogs who was a phenomenal obedience dog. I used to compete him all the time. He always had, first, second place in obedience. He was very responsive. He had gotten, multiple titles at a very young age. We did obedience, we did tracking. He was just agility, fly ball. There wasn't really anything that this dog wasn't ready to participate in with his partner, and his partner being me. And so it was a great rapport, great relationship. I really enjoyed working with him until what ended up happening as at a obedience competition. They have an exercise, which is where you would put your dog into a down stay, and then you needed to leave the room for a 3 to 5 minute period. And during that period, there would be another handler with their dog and the judge in the ring. and your dog needed to maintain a down stay while this activity was happening and you were not present. And so during the exercise, the dog that was working in the ring with the other handler attacked my dog. And so I obviously wasn't there at the time that it happened, wasn't able to respond. And ultimately, what happened was my dog became very fearful, and then became dog aggressive. And so, um, like many people, when you see dog aggression or dog fear issues, we reach out for assistance. And so back in that time, I didn't know then what I know now. I did seek out solutions with other dog training facilities that were well known for these type of issues. In the exercises and working with really kind of correlated for me a understanding of what I didn't want my training to be. And so a lot of the training was really about, correcting the dog for not for failing an obedient um, uh, uh, skill. Basically, telling your dog to sit. And so if your dog wasn't able to sit, it required a correction. And so it was correction after correction. And at that point, I really felt like, hey, my dog is in fear. My dog is obedient trained. He knows what the sits and the downs. He's struggling because he is fear, and that's an emotional. And that kind of set me into a mode of trying to find alternative solutions. And so over the past 20 years as a dog trainer, of which about 15 of them I have been using alternative therapies such as aroma, using essential oils, tinctures, herbs, acupressure, food therapies, and so forth, CBD oils, and intertwine those into my obedience training programs. And so, sorry for the long story, but I kind of wanted to give you the gist of it. Is obedience training is not the only thing that you can focus on. It needs to be based on these multiple layers. A dog that is having anxiety and fear, obedience training is good because it helps to set an understanding for the dog of what is expected of them, but desensitizing them in training also is required. But there are other things that you can do because simply there are dogs that are fearful, that have stress. But with that being said, there are dogs that simply are timid and fearful dogs, whereas nothing happened traumatic in their lifetime. It's just a part of who they are. And so in those cases, again, alternative services or alternative remedies are going to be very beneficial. And so utilizing some of my favorite things are utilizing herbal remedies. We sell on the website at Dogs for Life a calming formula, which is based on herbs that has ashwagandha, astragalus, chamomile, passion flower, which are great adaptogens. And so adaptogens, herbal adaptogens, enter into the body, and what it does is it helps to balance the hormones when the levels are too high or too low. So it's always trying to bring the body into balance. CBD oil, although it's been around a little bit for many years, however, is becoming more and more popular and is used to help reduce stress. There are food therapies. And so one of the things that I have found is there are certain foods based on traditional Chinese medicine. You can go again to the website. There are some great articles about dogs' personalities and how to balance the personalities utilizing food therapies. So if you have a dog that's hyperactive, there are certain foods that are helping to calm and sedate. With that being said, you also have dogs that are worriers or have the anxiety. Maybe they're angry and aggressive. Maybe they're over joyful and hyperactive. And so there are food remedies that can be utilized for dogs with anxiety as well. So, managing dogs that have anxiety, it's really important, I feel, that layering multiple modalities is going to be your best bet. Again, offering obedience training, training is sitting down, doesn't necessarily fix a dog that has an emotional imbalance, but it does go hand in hand in utilizing some of the other techniques, helping by feeding a food that helps support, utilizing herbal remedies that help resolve, and then adding your training in there to help give the dog a better understanding and raise confidence levels. These are all things that you can do to help your dog to resolve anxiety issues. So, if you enjoyed this, please give it a little thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We'll be adding more videos, and I do appreciate your time. Have a beautiful and blessed day, everybody.